Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zach, and today I am driving a 2022 Kia K5 GT line. Up front is a 1.6-liter turbocharged inline-4, and down below is an 8-speed automatic transmission. Now, I am super excited to be driving this Kia K5 because I haven't driven one in a very long time. I reviewed one right as they came out. I reviewed one of the first K5s in Illinois back in 2020 when they switched from the Optima name badge to the K5 name badge, and then I never drove one ever again. So today we're going to be doing our second K5 review, a little bit of a retrospect, what has changed since 2022, and just overall if this is now a good used car since it's been out for a little while. But if you'd like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And if you'd like to see all my videos weeks or sometimes months in advance, you can head on over to my Patreon for only $5 a month. But let's get back to that 1.6-liter turbocharged inline-4 under the hood. Well, it makes 180 horsepower here for the GT line. Now, it's important when you do your shopping that you know the distinction between the GT line and the GT. The GT line, this car, is sort of performance-y, sort of has those looks, has some of the cooler attributes, but the full GT gets a larger engine and 110 more horsepower. So that actually gets a 2.5-liter turbo with 290 horsepower, which is an absolute sleeper of an automobile. This is not that. This is sort of the light version of that. And so you get the smaller 1.6-liter. However, you can run it on regular unleaded as opposed to premium. It's going to be more affordable in pretty much every stretch of the imagination. So if you are pinching pennies, this is the way to go while still getting the cool style of the GT, just at a more affordable price and down a couple of ponies. Like I said, paired to it is an 8-speed automatic transmission. It is not a CVT, and I'm just praising Kia for that. I like the 8-speed. I think it feels good. It operates well. And again, it's not a CVT, so I'm going to put that into the win category here today. Last but not least, this particular K5 GT line is front-wheel drive. However, you could opt for all-wheel drive, but that is going to cut into your fuel economy, so take that as you will. How does it feel to drive the Kia K5 GT line? It's not the most exhilarating experience I've ever had. It's not super sporty, but that's what the full-on GT was for. This is a lot more manageable, this is a lot more friendly around town, and it's not super slow, but it's also not quick. It's 0 to 60 originally was like 8 seconds. So it's not fast, it's somewhat brisk, and I'll leave it at that. The ride quality is nice, the overall experience is good, and so if you're not looking to race stoplight to stoplight on Friday nights, this could be a pretty good choice for you. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 4 physical gauges and a screen. Off to the left is my tachometer and coolant temperature, and off to the right is my speedometer and fuel. With that screen in the center, you can switch around to a couple different things. This does feel a little bit outdated for 2022, but it works, and I'm not going to complain about that. On the steering wheel, on the left, we do have our voice commands, volume, skip track mode, and phone options, and off to the right, we have our adaptive cruise with steering assist. Very, very nice to see that. We do get a little GT line badge down at the bottom as well. Very, very nice to see that. And off to the left, we have a climate control vent. We have our gauge dimmer switch, lane keep assist, and traction control off, as well as our trunk release. And moving on to the door, we have the latch to get in and out up top, power mirrors, power locks, and power windows down below. Moving into the center, we get our infotainment display. This does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and it works well. This is all you really need out of an infotainment. It's not the largest infotainment I've ever seen in a sedan. It's not the most cutting edge. It's not blowing me away. But it is operating how I would want it to operate. And again, that's sort of all I can ask for out of a vehicle like this. This isn't really meant to wow you. So here, it works well enough. We do get a backup camera, which is very, very nice. And down below, we have 2 climate control vents. We have our hazard switch and our climate controls. Dual zone climate here, very nice to see that. Fan speed, all of those lovely additions there. And then we have two USB-A's as well as a 12-volt outlet. Again, showing its age a little bit here. The world has since moved on to USB-C, but in 2022, they were still utilizing USB-A. Moving into the center, we have the shifter off to left. You can plus minus on this if you would like for that 8-speed. We have auto holding brake and power parking brake down below that. And off to the right, we have cup holders. We'll do a big freaking bottle test, and unfortunately it fails. This is actually the first time we've ever big freaking bottle tested a K5. That's how long it's been since I last filmed one. Then we do have drive mode select for Sport, Normal, Smart, and Custom, and we get a wireless charger. Very, very nice features here. Then we do get a center console and the seats. The center consoles and seats actually match each other in their redness. I love this interior. These seats are not only comfortable, but they look fantastic, and they're sort of sporty for that GT line. I really, really enjoy them, and it just adds this pop of color to an otherwise somewhat normal, average, run-of-the-mill vehicle. I like this touch to it. With the exterior paint that we'll talk about later on, and these red seats, I think it looks truly fantastic. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. All right, let's get in the back of the Kia K5 GT line. And right off the bat, knee room is good. That is a huge, huge win for the market of sedans. The K5 isn't a huge sedan, but the back seat space worked for a bigger gentleman like myself. Down below, we do have two USB-A's, and as you'll notice, the red color carries on back here. I know the light from the sunroof is kind of hitting it awkwardly, but as you can see, the red carries on back here, which is very nice. We do get a center console as well with two cup holders in there. With the seat in front of me being my driving position, I'm very, very impressed with the back of the K5. I fit. That's a huge, huge win. So you could carry your friends around in this in a lot of comfort. That's not something that the Mazda 3 that the owner actually cross-shopped when looking for this car. The Mazda 3 is not going to be as comfortable in the back as this car. Even some of the Audi products, some of the BMW 3 Series, that's not going to be as comfortable as the back of this K5. So that's another huge win for Kia over some of the other luxury brands. So very, very nice to see that. There you go. Seat back pockets, power windows, and you do get this little like grab handle to close the door right down there. Kind of interesting. Let's talk about the trunk, and then we'll talk about the looks. All right, we're on the back of the Kia K5, and there's nothing really to report. I do think it has a pretty sizable trunk. I'm happy with the size of the trunk. Don't expect, to fit a flat screen TV back here, but for the size of vehicle, I have to say that this is pretty passable. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and like I mentioned with the interior, it does have this awesome gray look, sort of a very late 2010s, early 2020s color, but that makes sense with it being a 2022. And I do like the look of the K5. I want that to be known because my criticism with Kia is the fact that they are moving at such a fast rate with their exterior designs that with every new car they bring out, it makes all of their older cars look ancient. And so this car only came out about 5 years ago, but because Kia's design language has been rocketing towards the future every single model year, this car looks older than it really is, just comparatively to the rest of Kia's lineup. The rest of Kia's lineups look like the Starship Enterprise compared to this, which in Kia's world is as old as something found on the Oregon Trail, just with a lot less dysentery. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving the Kia K5 GT line? Well, it's good to be back behind the wheel of a K5. I've somewhat missed it, and I didn't even realize it. I think this car does a lot of things well. There are a couple of downsides. I will say I'm not a big fan of the whole GT versus GT line. I think they should have called this something else. If they would have named this the Kia K5 Sport, I think it would have made a lot more sense because it doesn't feel like it has to live up to the full-on GT. So if I had a criticism, I guess that would be one. Brief pause. Just a street-parked McLaren 720S in the snow, okay? BMW M5 competition, a 300 SRT with a Hellcat sticker on the side, and a Taycan, a Porsche Taycan. okay. But besides the name, there's not really a lot to dislike about the K5 GT line. It's smooth, it's comfortable, it's quick enough, it has nice features, and at the end of the day, this is going to cost you a lot less than the German counterparts. If you wanted these features, these looks, this sort of feeling out of a German car, you're looking upwards of over $40,000. This, when it was new, was upper 20s, lower 30s, and now on the used market can be found mid to low 20s, high teens if you're okay with a high mileage version. That's some serious savings. And so if you don't care about having 4 rings at the front of your hood, or a blue and white badge, or a badge with a horse on it, if you're okay not having that, this is a fantastic option. And honestly, to me, this puts the German cars right in their place. Kia has shown us that you're able to have a little bit of fun and a decent amount of features and not absolutely break the bank trying to do so. So while Kia buyers usually have cost at the top of their list, it's not the only thing on their list. And so if you're looking for a new sedan, I have to say, this is a pretty decent one. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Aaron for letting me borrow his Kia K5 GT line for today's video. He's been absolutely awesome. I also reviewed his Infiniti G37 almost a year ago. He has since traded up to this vehicle, and I have to say it's been a pretty good trade. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.